No agenda, no bull crap, just real conversations. Thank you for joining us for the Middle of the Street podcast.
Bang. We are here, y'all. Middle of the Street podcast. And, hopefully we have a very, very regular appearance by LG, the one and only Lawrence Gardiner. Brother, just, I guess, explain who you are first. Know thyself, huh?
Indeed. So, my name is Lawrence Gardiner. Ishma knows me as LG. Those closest to me know me as LG. However, I think the most important part of who I am right now is, I'm a therapist. This is what I do on a daily basis, and it's consumed me, and it's become a lot of part of who I am on a daily basis. So today, that's who I am. I'm a mental health practitioner. Outside of that, I'm a father and a husband, and I'm a family man. I'm a coach. I'm a trainer. I'm entrenched in the community.
Yes.
And that's who I am today. I mean, I guess as we talk more, we can get deeper into, a deeper part of that history.
Really quick, how much of a blessing is it to somebody asks who you are, to be able to say it? Right. I mean, so many people. I think when people, first thing, when you say I'm a therapist, right? Mm-hmm. That means something to you compared to a lot of people and say, hey, who are you? A lot of people go to what industry are you in or what do you do, right? Mm-hmm. They say, when you say, who are you? Some people say, I'm a checker, or, I just work at U-Haul, or I just, do these things. But when you say, I'm a therapist, right? Does that have some type of special, I know you kind of elaborated on a little bit, but what's the special connotation to you when you say I'm a therapist?
Right, because I'm asking people that have been broken or hurt to think at a deeper level, which then forces me to think at a deeper level. And to think at a deeper level, it's the activity of being a therapist. It's who I am. It's what I do. It's the CEO. You know what I'm saying? The time planning, the organization, the self-control. All the things that comes to being a therapist. So I practice these things on myself. So when you ask me who I am, I've given this deep thought. I was in the activity of discovering who I am, and I could say it like that.
So we met.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, how many years ago is this?
It's got to be about 15 to 17 year range.
Okay, so I was at Child Guidance Center,
mm-hmm.
and I remember they said, hey, we have a gentleman who's going to come in, and I believe you were doing your internship for therapy there. And they said, hey, will you do the orientation with him? As I was the coordinator of the extended day treatment program.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, cool. So, I expected, stereotypes go full circle, right? They don't just go one group has a stereotype about one group. Stereotypes are get engulfed, I think, by everybody in some point, right? So I expected, when they say we have the gentleman coming through, I expected some white guy to come through, mm-hmm. and who was kind of shorter with kind of this real
glasses,
right? I was expecting to see another James. I was expecting another James. Remember James, the short guy with the vest? Yeah. Tucci. Okay. Yeah, they go. So I was expecting to see another James, kind of like a off-brand. I mean, no hate to James, but just kind of a person who doesn't have children, telling people how to, I don't know, treat children or raise children. It was, and then in walks through, first off look, right? I'm like, man, in walks through this powerful brother, right? So when you walk in, I see this powerful man, and I'm like, man, this is a powerful dude. And then we shook hands. Your hand engulfed mine.
Got some big mitts, man. Big mitts.
It just
they were very helpful in basketball. They were very helpful.
And I'm like, so, but then we got to talking just a little bit or
mm-hmm.
whatnot, and I realized, that you were really about that life from, even that point. But what's really cool is since we met, whether that was 15, 17 years ago. No, 15. Okay, yeah, because it was, my son is 15. So I would say right around 14, 15 years. Okay.
Right around that time frame.
Yes. So, and then as we had met, and then till now, I think about how our conversations have changed and how I've seen your thought processes change and how mine have just been 180'd, right? In my opinion. And I'm like, man, what keeps you comfortable with that type of growth?
So when we go back to the idea of this self-awareness, right? Then it becomes intriguing and exciting as to how far can you grow? You know, and that became a sport.
Well, it kind of goes back to, I remember my grandfather saying all the time, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. You listen enough, you learn and grow, I think, at an exponential rate.
Yeah, most definitely. And like I look at, so when it comes to like through that lens of therapy, how hard do you think it is for people, adults at that? Because I know you work with families. How hard is it for adults, you think, to catch growth that you see when you come across adults you work with?
I think it does boil down to, again, self-awareness. And a lot of times people talk about self-awareness, and it's a very surface discussion for them. So when I do say get into the activity of self-awareness, you have to know how your cognitive processes. You got to know how you apply your self-regulation skills and executive functioning skills. And you start to study yourself at a very finite skill level and from an internal. And when you get it to work in there, bringing it out becomes a very fun activity.
Anything that comes from in here, comes out here. That's
that special.
It's the blessing that the good Lord gave us.
That's where God is.
Ooh.
In there, go see how powerful you are.
Definitely. Definitely. What do you think has been the biggest way? I mean, personally, right? I think the biggest way that I've grown is attacking things, not thinking that I know or that I even have the best path. I think before I used to always attack things as I know. Like, just because my opinion is like kind of I know. So whatever issue it was that I was trying to attack, it's like I know, right?
Right.
And now I think that I try to attack things as in a sense of, let me find out, let me see, instead of I know, you know. I think that's been most of my growth, is being able to see it that way. When I talk about me growth as just a thinker or as a person, you know. I'm not for sure if that's just with time or it's been around with, if it's been from influence.
Well, from me, even from my work career, any meeting I was ever in, I always said I was the dumbest person in the room. Because I had a lot to learn from all those folks there. And if I could just listen, absorb, I'm going to grow. Yeah. And to me, it was like they were watering my plant and fertilizing my plant for me to grow. Because again, I always went in with that attitude that I'm the dumbest guy in the room. So from there, let me absorb stuff.
Sure.
And I probably had to do that to myself to break down my own ego.
Yeah.
And that's got to be hard for you. I mean, when you're with families or with males, alpha males, and breaking through that exterior can't be an easy task.
Here, really quick, let me raise your mic a little bit more, Pops.
Sorry.
Here, raise this one up. Bam. Get you a little more. Perfect. All right. Alpha males. Do you work with many alpha males in therapy?
I mean, I yes, without a doubt.
Are they reluctant to take, to be able to, I guess, what would you call when you do therapy? Is it guidance? Is it listening? Is it suggesting? I guess, how would you categorize when you're in talk therapy with someone?
I guess for me, it's like, if I was to do metaphors, it would be, here are some doors. And these doors, as you go through them, you will discover new information. when you discover that new information, apply what you have learned and come back and let's talk about what you've learned from this new information. And if this new information is wrapped around goals of success, then what are the definitions, or what is the definition of your success? Is that being a better father? Is that holding down a job? Is that going back to school? Okay, are we working in that direction? Alpha male or not, I'm hoping that you're here to find a better version of yourself as you define it, not as I define it. This is what you want for your life.
Sure.
And if that's what you want for your life, then I'm just here to give you perspective in a different way and sometimes challenge some of these thoughts that you might have. Hey, have you ever looked at it this way?
Sure.
And then they go, oh, no, I haven't. And then, okay, now go apply that learning.
Challenge some of those thoughts.
Without a doubt.
When you always hear the thing, right, that men, it's like a stigma, men going to therapy, right? Men being involved in some type of therapy, right? Have you experienced that from your kind of peer group at all, Pops?
Not really. But I was thinking about what you're saying there. So I go to daily mass. When I'm at home, I go to 6:30 mass, and I ask the good Lord for the same thing every day, and that's to make me a better man today than what I was yesterday. And so that kind of hit me about that, opening those doors, because every day you have an opportunity to become a better version of you. Maybe that's not the perfect goal every day, but to me that's pretty important as I've gotten older. If I can become a better version of me, I'm going to be a better father, a better husband, better grandfather, hopefully great grandfather at some point in my life, which is pretty cool.
But like, for example, like when folks have, let's say, have you known people that you're acquainted with or in your life that have like dealt with alcoholism or dealt with some other substance abuse or whatever it may be, right? Maybe something that they could truly use some therapy for or some counseling for, right?
For sure.
Have you had, like in your experience, have those people been reluctant to get therapy? They'd be like I don't need that. I can kick this some other way, or
yeah. I mean, so we had,
or even marriage. We
had employee assistance programs clear back in the old days in Linwell.
Yeah.
And often when something would happen at work, I'd always then want to sit down and find out what's happening in their life, because this wasn't a work thing that went bad. There's a distraction someplace else. If you don't want to talk to me about it, I get it. But here's this number, and you can call these people, and it's part of your benefits package, and try to get this stuff worked through. Because there's all kinds of pressures. I mean, if it's financial, if it's marriage, if it's divorce, if it's kids, or I by no means had all the right answers, but I could direct them there. But it was always tough for them.
And I feel like for me, I always say the question is better than the answer. So when you come to me as a therapist, we're going to have lots of fun with lots of questions. And questions that hopefully lead to you having the confidence to open those doors and then walk through them and then having that experience. True. And then, let's talk about your experience. What did you learn? What did you find when you opened up that door? Did you get closer to who you want to be?
What's the most, I guess, is there one thing that surprises you the most or takes you back the most when you're working with folks just in general? Like one thing that's like, man, I can't believe that this happens so often, or that this is such a big problem in our society. Is there a specific issue that seems to just be kind of extra concerning? I'm sure all things are concerning.
And I think, as we were talking earlier, when it comes to the numbers or what the data says about kids that are receiving some type of mental health services while they're in school, that's good information. But for somebody like me who is involved in the activity of therapy, you start to look at the historical context, and you are not surprised by what you see, because that would mean you would have to dismiss people's historical experiences.
So, for example, we're saying that, I think you have some numbers here, Pops. What is it? It's basically 17 out of 100 kids from what age is that? 12 to 17?
12 to 17.
12 to 17 are
receiving mental health services.
Well, not just mental health services, right? That's some type of psychotropic medication?
Well, it's prescription medication, counseling,
mental
health therapy at some point.
Oh, so it's kind of a bundle.
It's a bundle. I couldn't get to the actual tying back into our last conversation.
Sure.
But I was still taken aback by these numbers, really until LG said, Mark, those are numbers, and they didn't surprise you. And so, kind of elaborate on that.
Well, the American experience has been a very interesting experience in the sense that families have been destroyed for years and have been attacked for years through lots of, like we've talked about, discrimination, prejudices, redlining issues, assassinations, and all the above. And this is where I hesitate to jump on podcasts, folks, because I go down these roads.
It took us, it took us just a minute to get here, though, man.
Yeah. But
we've been talking before we got to this road.
For sure. I do leave people with the question of, how do you have these historical experiences and expect kids to know how to behave? Like, families have been destroyed. These kids are raised in destroyed situations. And they come to school and we go, yeah, you're destroyed.
So are we saying we're expecting normalcy out of situations that don't create normalcy?
Nah, bro.
Well, and the perception of normalcy too. I mean, what's from what I'm taking from what's normal to those kids is not normal for us, right? Is that a true story?
That's a true story.
So
they have no idea of what normal is.
Yeah, they don't know healthy relationship. They don't know.
So they're functioning
healthy food.
So how they're functioning is normal
to them.
That's to them. It's not normal. It's normal to them. It's been their life experience.
That's what I was taking out of when you're talking about life experiences. I was there.
Yeah, you picked up on. So it's like, I look at all the things that we've read about in history, and I say, those things will have outcomes. There's the outcomes.
So, for example, if we're talking about an issue of, let's say, like the 1994 crime bill, okay, and if we have an epidemic of addicted people to a substance that we call crack cocaine, okay, and let's leave alone the issue really quick of the Contra cocaine deals and how that crack cocaine was got to America, got in these neighborhoods and things. But let's just set that aside for a second and just focus on, we had an epidemic of addiction to crack cocaine. And our solution, and this addiction had many symptoms, which were higher crime rates, violent crime, burglaries, and murders, right? Now, the solution to this, or the action to this, was to criminalize those who were addicted and anyone who was profiting from this at all. And it took thousands, tens of thousands of fathers out of the household, made them criminals, took thousands of mothers out of the household, made them criminals. So that's just one example, right? So if your parents are out of the household, and this is the 80s, now you at some point have children, and how are you supposed to know how to be a parent?
The cycle continues.
Well, and I'm sitting here this is kind of an epiphany to me. So you think about that in the 80s is when we started kids on all these meds, behavior meds. They got addicted to. So we put them in a position to become addicted, and then we wondered why they continued to be addicted to other substances.
Well, there are also people in my field that will say, your child has this, your child has this, and your child has this diagnosis, and really never ever talk to the child like, damn, I get it, bro. Your life experience has been shitty. I don't expect you to act any different. Now you're responsible for that truth, and now moving on.
Yeah.
Back to that kid that was raised in a crack household.
You're right.
Let's just keep it real, right?
Right.
If they are successful, is that like the anomaly? Is that like the like, I know, should be celebrated or whatnot, but how rare or how hard is it to be successful out of that type of environment, would you say? I mean, in your experience of seeing things like this.
I mean, you and I have been around the community long enough to know some of the kids that we've seen, work with, have participated in their lives, ended up getting in trouble. It's hard to turn your life around. And so what people will come in and say, well, here, medication will help you. Therapy will help you. Damn, therapy's not helping you. So let's put another $400 million into another prison so we could deal with people that have poor frustration tolerance, because when they grew up in that crack home, they don't know what care is. They got yelled at and or called out of their names and emasculated, by, yeah, man. And now you go to school and you say, I need A+ behavior.
Well, and
emasculated, really quick, emasculated. I think this is this is something I just want to explore real fast.
Without a doubt.
Okay, when you say emasculated, could you give me an example of what you mean when you're talking about that in a sense of the community work you do?
It's it's that part of our manhood that sometimes think that we have to teach children by, oh, don't be no little bitch, bro. Don't be no little bitch, bro. That's what I'm talking about. And now this kid grows up not wanting to be a little bitch. What is that even?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly. I mean,
what is that?
You just hit something in me, right? Because one of the things, okay, because I'm gonna play both ways, because I love this, because this is what we're able to do. Okay, because my father, one of the memories I have from my father, like one of my core memories, right, is like we were moving. I was supposed to be helping the move or something. I wasn't strong enough to do whatever it was, and he was like, "Stop acting like a little bitch," right? And that hit me. Man, it hurt so bad. First thing, it hurt so bad. It like cut so deep inside of me, right? Yeah. But then also, right, so what it meant to me internally was like, I need to be bigger and stronger. Right? And then so in my mind, like, one of the things that I was trying to strive to my whole life, always around my father at least, was be bigger and stronger, bigger and stronger. And in some ways, I think that helped me, right? Add to that, though, I had other men and my father, still or whatnot, that were also feeding me so much greatness and so much support and so much love, which is something that a lot of these kids we work with do not have, right? But that personally, when you're saying that, so how hurtful can that be without any other balance? If that's one of the only things you're getting, how hurtful, because I remember how hurtful it was to me, right? So if that's all you get, is that type of emasculation?
And for some of these kids, where a father's not around, they're getting it from uncles, they're getting it from other kids in the neighborhood, they're getting it when they're on the basketball court, they're getting it, and then they go to class.
Mom's boyfriend, whatever it is.
Whoever it is, everybody's challenging your masculinity.
I'll talk about mom's boyfriend. Getting to talk about mom's boyfriend. I know we see the memes always like, he in the house drinking all the Capri Suns, eating the fruit snacks. The memes? Right. But seriously, that mom's boyfriend could be so, and don't get me wrong, like, hats off to guys who come in the household and do your thing and are real step parents and things like that. But I have seen so much toxicity around mom's boyfriends. First thing, because mom put the boyfriends in front of the kids, like when it comes to hierarchy of who they're taking care of. I've seen it so many times where moms are placing their boyfriend's happiness or what their boyfriends need over what the kids need and over, what they're supposed to be providing for the youth. Then how does that youth feel?
To quote some kids, and there's an interesting thing. I'm going to give you an example of how widespread this example of that experience of being emasculated, right? Or even worse, to look at yourself and have some type of self-hatred towards it. There was a kid that I work with, and this kid said to me after about 6 months of knowing me and our therapy sessions was to go out and eat. His brother looked at me and said, I didn't even think that there was a black man out there like you. someone who knew how to be kind.
That was his experience.
Bro, that it floored me. And not because I felt some type of pat on the back. It was how sad the conditions in which these kids are growing up. Yeah. Again, I'm not surprised by those numbers.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, I was trying to do some research and just trying to figure it out because
that's sad.
I have different life experiences. Obviously, all three of us do, but I worry about the kids because they're our future.
Yeah.
I mean,
if we don't take intervention more seriously,
if we don't break this cycle is going to get worse.
The outcomes.
Yeah.
And now you got kids that are over-medicated that really don't know how to handle their feelings unless they're popping a medication going into the future making decisions. Whoa.
That scares the shit out of me.
It
does, man.
It should scare us all.
Wow. I mean, so we're talking about, I want to talk about a whole bunch of things because I've share your sentiments. You know, I work with you 2 times a week.
Oh, without a doubt. And do it very well.
But this kid the other day, he gives me this hug. And he goes, he just asks for a hug, right? Which is, I think is cool. Like a 16-year-old kid can ask another man for a hug. I think that's, thankfully, like, hopefully we can embrace that type of love, right? More, first thing. Second thing, we're like, an appropriate show of affection, you know, where it's not gay to hug a man, where it's a real appropriate show of affection. So first thing, I thought that was great. But second thing, he goes, Ishma, you're just such a great man. Look, this kid sees me twice a week for a few hours, right? And, you know, he knows me when I'm there or whatnot. What I'm saying is I'm not exceptional by any fucking means.
Right. Oh, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. But this kid thinks I'm exceptional. And I think there's 2 things to that. First thing is, like, if you're out there and you have if you can give an hour to whatever your local charity is where you're actually going to give time, like your teammates or your big brothers, big sisters, or whatever that is, go give them your hour, first thing, right? Because a kid will think you're exceptional just for spending the time and giving them attention. Second thing, again, how sad is it that, and he shares, he shares my time with 12 other kids at least when I'm in group.
But the important thing is, Ishma, when you're there at that time at group, you are present and you are there. Some people go to do, as you said, big brothers, big sisters, but they're not really present during that time. They're not listening and communicating. And so, you know, as adults, we do that too much to our kids at times, to other people we interact with, where we're not present wholly with them. Yeah. We're physically there, but mentally we're maybe miles away. And that's that unfairness to those kids.
Sure.
You know, if you're going to give the time, give the time.
Give the time. Definitely give the time.
Be present.
100%. 100%, because they will appreciate it, because there's so many kids that they have no real person present, which is just sad. Right. Really is sad. So we expect...
It's the one... No, go ahead.
No.
It's the one part of me where... as a therapist, I always see those memes that talk about positivity, and I was like, "Wow, that's a privilege to think in a positive state when you see the conditions in which you work and what I always think, man, if things went haywire, who would take care of all these kids?"
Well, think about the generation where we didn't take care of them at all.
Oh my word!
That's how we got down this path.
Right.
I mean, this wasn't just a single generation that this.
Oh my gosh!
This went south in. This is, as you had said, historic.
Yes.
And
it's cause and effect, right? Yeah. It's cause. Like there was a cause, and there's an effect.
Yes.
And all those things that we experience, and if I break it down to a singular race, like I'm more proficient in the area of African American history or Black history.
Yeah.
The redlining, the hangings, the made to look like we're unintelligent, that we could only be rappers, athletes, or drug dealers. All those things, all those different games that were played on Black people. And where we are today is those things are going to have an outcome. Well, and the outcome is
those numbers.
Those numbers.
And we we sensationalize those things as society.
Yeah. Glorify it in our music. I always love when you challenge them cats on their music choices.
But even, you know, in athletics, I mean, all of it, all the way through, we sensationalize that. That guy's dumb.
Well, you could be a leader in the drug game. You could be a leader in you could be a leader as an athlete. You could be a leader as a musician. Try to be a social political leader, and those don't have good outcomes for people that look like us.
Shit.
I know.
My brothers. A lot of people that go to the penitentiary end up dead on the walls.
A couple of them up there, yeah.
On the walls, yeah.
And, for sure.
Oh yeah, on the walls, and the ones that don't end up dead, they make to look crazy, right? They call them crazy, like Brother Dick Gregory.
For sure. And when you take all these things into perspective, it really gives you a reality check on how I look at life. And
well, really quick, so many people will say, like for example, right? They'll say, "Hey, first thing, right? I want to do a separation of like victim mentality and just reality. All right. And I think really quick, because I think the victim mentality, first thing, is saying this has happened to you, so you cannot do A, B, or C now, right? And then reality is saying this has happened to you or this group of people, so these are the hurdles that they've had to face or you've had to face and have had to get over to get to a point you want to be. So there's two things, not saying that you can't get there, saying there's different hurdles and different things that are going to be there or that have been there. So like I like to preface that before I ever comment on historical things or you know, things that we say are cause and effect. Now, that being said, another thing is I think that even me, my view of these things were always kind of more historical, saying that, okay, so something from the 1800s or 1900s or 1950, 1930, 1920, 1950, 1960, that these are things that are then affecting now, which of course do affect now. But then as I was preparing once for a talk I had to give in Kentucky, I got with Ed Zimmerman here in Lincoln, and he's a historian for Nebraska, and he was showing me the deeds of houses in the Sheridan Boulevard, Pops, you know Sheridan? He was showing me around that country club, you know, lane. He was showing me the deeds of the houses in 1988, I believe, 86 or 88. Still had deeds like clauses to not sell to black people, to not sell or rent to black people. Now, so I was born in 86, right? Yeah. If my father or his mother or anyone at that time or whatnot was trying to add to their portfolio, which most Americans, their biggest thing in their portfolio is what? The home they own, right? That's the biggest asset they have, or wealth.
Or if you jumped in on cryptocurrency in time.
But most people's wealth in America
I still haven't figured that out.
Right. Most people's wealth in America comes from their home, right? Like what they own in home. Most people, you know, most of the middle class folks, right? It's the home they own is really what they have some equity in, and really what they have some money in. They may not have anything in the savings, but they own a home that has some type of equity in it.
Right.
And then when they are able to pass along, or even when they want to buy another home or kind of move up in society, right? They sell their home, they turn the equity around, they have that money to do new down payment, whatever it is. They can keep moving up in society because
making investments.
Because the home that they have, right?
Right.
If you can't own a home in 1986 in a neighborhood that's going to, the values are going to continue to go up. It's going to be a very sound investment right there. That's, I think people don't understand not only the frequency, the severity, but the way that it was not that long ago. Yeah. Like, this is 1986, and if my father was in a position to have that money, he could not have bought that home. Well, right? And that's not like generational, like so many generations. Like, that's my pops. Like, I know he's dead, but that's my pops.
That would be his generation.
Yeah. Like, if you wanted to buy that home, you were black, you couldn't have. So those I think those things that when you're talking about these things have effects, right?
They have consequences.
Those have consequences. So that's poverty. That's poverty for, you can't get that home.
So backing up my perspective growing up. My grandparents were very racist. My parents were. I mean, I think my generation, end of baby boomers, was the first ones that were raising their kids colorblind. More. And I don't think it's 100% by any means, but I think there's more of my generation's children that are colorblind than ever before. You can go back to, again, how I was raised and how my parents were raised. Ooh, they weren't colorblind. That wasn't the case at all. But back to this data, I actually found it pretty amazing. But then when you look at the differences, so there you go.
Wow.
The white children, non-Hispanic and white children, 17.7% of them were taking therapy. So when I see this, when I was reading through this, I was like, this isn't racial specific. We've got kids we've screwed up from probably all races and probably all economic wise.
Well, I mean, in Nebraska is 99.5% white.
Well, not that big, but
what's
maybe the whole state. The whole state. Okay. Excuse me. Lincoln is 4 to 5% black. Omaha is 10 to 12% black.
Okay, so
the rest of the state,
I think it's
is
like
white,
99 something,
and there's some Hispanics.
Yeah.
And this is some Hispanics, but really quick though.
And just to real quick,
because with this,
for sure. Because the thing is, here's the hidden part of it is we act like white people don't go through things as well, and to say that every family, some of these kids are growing up with parents that are addicted to opioids. Or here's a story I heard the other day. Hey, can we talk about this young child? Well, what's the situation? Well, both parents unalived themselves. And this young lady's white. She's gonna be part of all the kids that are needing therapy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And she's white.
Yeah.
But like I said, we sensationalize issues in this country.
Yeah.
So we put all the epidemic stuff, blackface, minority face, while ignoring hey, the white community is suffering as well.
Black on black crime, black on black crime,
yes.
Definitely. And I think really quick. So when I used to be at Child Guidance Center, right, at our extended day treatment program, what's that, day treatment?
Yes.
So you call that day treatment. It was overwhelmingly always at least 60 to 70% black kids there, right?
Right.
Now, in a place that's 95% white, or 90% white, there's some other races, right? In a city that's 90% white, 60% of the kids that need day treatment are black.
Well, in
our city.
Well, but in that building, that group.
We were the only service in the county that did that. So I'm just saying, in the county, the people that needed that level of service.
But that was happening that the county was paying for. It wasn't the private professionals like we had our employee assistance program to send kids to. They weren't going to child guidance.
Well, but really quick,
you know what I mean, man?
But really quick, if they needed that level of day treatment, that was the only place to go in the county. So you could go to Kansas was the next closest place that had day treatment. That was us. So what we had, the milieu, right? We had family therapy, we had individual therapy, and then every group was therapy oriented in the milieu. So what I'm saying is of course we had white kids, and we had private insurance too, right? So if you needed that level of care, we were the only place. But what I'm saying is I didn't understand. I still don't understand. Well, I think what I'm speaking to is, it was wild to me that 60% of that high level of care was black kids. And I know we're trying to keep it non-racial or whatever, but it was just the truth of being there for 8 years. And it was always consistently like that.
Well, I think that's the same. Those numbers are similar as far as the prison system.
Absolutely.
I think the prison system is even more.
Well, especially when you do the classification of just non-white.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's the part of fatherhood I've come to appreciate, because One of the things that I have, I mean, my kids live in the house with 2 therapists, so there's lots of conversations about lots of things.
Poor kids.
Poor kids. Absolutely.
They're test mice too much.
Absolutely. You know, and they teach me so much in the fact that I know one of my sons was really having a hard time. And when I finally sat down and talked to him, he speaks to what you were talking about, or I think what you were saying earlier is the consistency of being present. My kids only know me as far as someone who's raising them, having these conversations. So we've had these running conversations since birth. Now think of the kids that are growing up in the crack house.
Well, and
In the meth house.
Yes.
and think of so many parents are trying to just be friends with their kids instead of be parents.
That's a tough one.
Well, I mean,
That's a tough
interestingly enough, you have kids that are having kids.
Yeah.
Babies having babies.
Babies having babies.
Raising our babies. Like, that's wild.
What do they know about parenthood?
That's really wild.
The same thing I knew about when we started. Nothing. They don't come with an instruction manual. I mean,
No.
Megan, being our oldest, had that conversation with her. Like, honey, you didn't come with an instruction manual. We're learning this right with you about raising kids and doing stuff.
Yeah.
And as a result, you raised a healthy, very smart, intelligible, beautiful family.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then I think that's where ultimately I sit down as a therapist and I end up at the place where I say, I understand it. We don't talk enough about what we're going to do about it.
How are we going to fix it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question. And how do you handle when a kid comes to you and they say, let's say a boy comes to you and they say, I feel like I'm a girl. And has this ever happened to you where they said, like, I want to have like surgery and be a girl?
I've not had that experience.
You never had that experience yet? Have you had the boy that says, I'm a girl, or I feel like a girl, or the other way around?
I mean, I've had children that had, chosen their sexual orientation as, gay or whatever the case may be. But for me, it's like being in the Matrix, right? For most people, they see the behavior and I'm looking at little codes, and with these codes, that person also has to decide what their stresses are. What's stopping you from reaching success? And if you have to have that discussion, go through one of them doors and see what you discover. Come back and talk to me and see what you find. A lot of times, though, what I will say to you is, and as a therapist, I can speak pretty confidently to this number. Most kids that come in and work with me that have chosen a different lifestyle than they were born with, there's some sexual assault history in their stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there was some bad shit that brought outcomes.
Made you
that
deal
they
with
weren't
questions
able
you had no business dealing with as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old.
So and I've always my father, one of the things he used to tell me, he say, Ishma, when people have weird shit go happen, it results in some more weird shit usually. Like
there's a result. There's
like,
a cause and effect.
Right? Like if you have a culture of and I mean, I don't mean to throw any type of religion under the bus, but like, for example, like there's this Afghani culture in this like in these tribal warlord chief things, right? That it's like you can entice young boys and literally groom young boys as like your sexual servants.
Yeah.
And then, right? And it's like, well, when you allow weird things, like cultural things, that those weird cultural things are gonna happen. And one of the things were like this weird sect, like they don't allow those certain men to be with women. So if you don't allow certain men to be with women, like some weird things happen. And then we've seen that too, like, in parts of like even like the Catholic Church, right, where you had all these different priests that have had these weird sexual things happen with little boys. And my dad was like, well, if you don't allow men to be with women, weird things can happen. Weird things happen.
I think some people have come to believe that pleasure is not important.
Well, yeah, and
And as a religion, they've decided that their battle in the spiritual world is to suppress those natural things,
those emotions,
to suppress pleasure in general, like suppressing pleasure.
Well, so I'm Catholic. So,
I'm sorry.
No. There's nothing sorry.
No,
about
I'm
it.
sorry that this conversation. I'm like, you just threw this man under the bus, knowing he can't.
No,
He knows it.
I started with the Afghani warlord.
For sure.
But
That's
you
funny.
know, I got a lot of Catholic priest friends. You know, some I grew up with and they became priests.
Yeah.
And all of them tell me the same thing. We're just men. We have our own battles. And to listen to them, depression runs with priests pretty heavily. And I think that's where alcoholism comes in the priesthood and some of that stuff.
I haven't heard of that epidemic.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I
But they're just men, so they've got some of the they deal with, well, as priests, because part of their thing is therapists also, which is pretty crazy when you have a priest giving marriage counseling, but it's just crazy.
Like they can't be married,
Yeah,
but they get married.
But
counseling.
they're talking, and they do marriage prep, although they've never been married. It's kind of interesting.
Sometimes the outside. Okay, so I want to say a couple of things about this, because first thing is, so when we talk about weird things or unnatural things, right? If you're not able to marry a woman, then maybe there's some unnatural things that happen. Well, then when you look at the public school system and how many kids get sexually abused by teachers in the public school system, the numbers are even higher than like what was covered up in the Catholic Church at times. So what I'm saying is, well, those teachers didn't have any, I guess what we would call abnormal things that they had to abstain from, right? They could have women, they could have had, so maybe it's not about abstaining from the women or from having a wife. It's more of just some people are weird.
Well, some people are weird, but it's probably because they had something weird in their history
Happened to them.
or observed something weird in history, and
And then they have access.
and we're curious. I mean, humans are curious people.
And then they have
I
access.
said perspectives. Perspective is everything.
Is this Pandora's box we're chiseling open?
Yeah. I mean, I think perspective is everything, because I think also, when I talk to some of these young ladies, which is okay. So I'm going to give you guys a level to this self-awareness thing.
Okay.
So I'm talking to these black girls in therapy. And to explore their experience, conversations like, you grow up in a community where, most of your accomplished people were married to white women, and what you see on TV is the beauty standard of white women. And I think often some of these African-American girls in Lincoln become, they have to fall in love with somebody, and the cool black boys aren't choosing them. So it really challenges their standard of beauty, and it challenges their self-esteem. And so sometimes just looking for love, you might say like, okay, this girl is cool. I mean, to me, it's a survival skill. I don't know.
Wow. So you're saying the options are so thinned out by what just really biologically what a woman would look for in a male, someone who can protect her, someone that can provide. These men in Lincoln, this small group of pool of their peers that maybe look like them, are going towards women who don't look like them, like skin color or maybe from where they're from and things like that. And now it's creating this other pool of lesbians.
It's possible.
Like, well,
I'm not saying it's causation.
No.
I'm just saying
it's possible. Like from,
it's
and this is
possible.
observational, right? This is just simply
This is
observational.
possible.
Maybe connecting a couple dots. And I mean, this isn't a peer-reviewed study here. Or anything like that. We're not saying it. We're just having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so, but naturally, if you can't feel safe with someone else or someone else that you're going to, and what your pool then of people are, people that are unfit for what you're thinking, right? Then hey, there's this girl right here, and she's been nice to me, and she's helped me when I need her, and she's been there emotionally for me.
Or even a guy that he's not looking for love.
Sure.
To change gears a little bit, It was also, well, we talked about, we were also going to talk about, some gun violence things and that. And so I was doing a little bit of research, and I knew the statistics, but it's like 54% of gun deaths are suicide.
Oh, 54% of gun deaths are suicide.
43% are murder and 3% are other. And when you look at this little graph here, I mean, this is the suicide. Now, it's been on a pretty steady climb.
Is it still mostly middle-aged white men that kind of dominates that number as well?
It's kids. It's
that has happened a lot since the pandemic.
Been a lot more kids.
Whatever happened, suicide has become a trend.
Yeah, this is just up through 21.
Gotcha.
This is through Pew Research.
But that was all around the board there, the suicide?
Yeah, well, I mean, here, look, you can see the trend on that graph there.
Is there age to
that? There's more data in here about ages and stuff, but that really, we talk about gun violence and that being a huge problem.
Just suicide.
Well, suicide. I mean, if you get rid of suicide, the number falls by over 50%.
One more time.
If we eliminated suicide with guns,
yes,
that number falls drastically, and
so like half the gun deaths in America are suicide.
54%, yeah, over half.
So you just eliminate just the suicide. So really quick,
which is impossible.
Yeah, you're not going to eliminate it.
Yes,
yeah.
but turn down some of the suicide.
But those aren't those suicides aren't AR-15s.
No,
I mean those are handguns. And I'm a big Second Amendment. I don't know if you know that I'm a hunter and fisherman, and I believe in. I taught all my children how to shoot and do it safely, and working with grandchildren, just because I think it's an important thing that they learn the safety aspect of. I think as Ishma and I had a conversation at one point. I can either show them how to do this the right way and how to handle it the right way, or they're probably going to end up by a buddy at their home.
Yeah.
And you don't want them learning from a buddy at a home who's probably had no training either, and they're just playing with dad's gun.
A little too much scotch.
Yeah.
Crazy things happen. But when I was looking at that gun violence thing, that really, I knew it was high, but I was shocked that it was over half.
And I think that it's an interesting way that they present that public discourse about guns, because, again, if we're talking about kids that have grown up in drug-infested homes, have had these life experiences, you're still talking about kids that make impulsive decisions. And now you're talking about impulsive people with guns. And sometimes suicide is an option, and it's a very sad state. But very often there are conditions that put that person in that state, because when we look at that, and someone who arrives at that point where they're thinking about committing suicide, we always think four things. You feel hopeless, you feel helpless, you feel abandoned, and you feel worthless.
Worthless.
Wow.
So how do we, when it comes to, first, I want to start with youth, right? When it comes to youth, how do we keep kids away from feeling worthless? Like that's pretty low.
But that's you. I mean, that's you stepping into the community and doing what you do. It's the work that I do. It's the work that I'm recruiting others to do. It's important work, and the potential outcomes of doing the work can be spectacular if we commit to acquiring the skills that we need to solve these problems that we're dealing with.
When it comes to let's just take it straight there, because this is where the gun issue really revolves around school shootings. Let's just keep it real. Like for the most of it, I would say 90% of the gun.
Well, it really started heating up after. I'm a little older than you are, yes. I think it really started heating up after Columbine.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Because now 100%. This was happening in.
Yeah.
It's been happening in urban communities.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, this was in Columbine, Colorado, and now wait. When it's happening in our backyard, now we got to discuss it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think I talked about it in the last podcast. I grew up in a small town. I mean, if it was hunting season, I had guns in my car
in high school.
Because I'd go hunting before school.
Yep. So it was the normal thing.
Yeah.
So Columbine happens, and what is that? Littleton, Colorado.
I'm not
was
sure.
That Columbine? I believe it was Littleton, Colorado, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
but however it goes,
right.
So it's a little suburb, in Colorado, beautiful little town, like little, thing. And this catastrophe happens, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're right. So this big issue about gun violence starts to come up. And then, so really quick, there's that African proverb, right? Like when the child doesn't feel embraced by the village, they'll burn it down just to feel its warmth. Right? And
that's a nice proverb.
I mean, it is. And it's so true. I think we see that when we do see instances of just kids going off the rails. For example, kids who used to go ape shit crazy at program and would tear up a whole classroom like nuts, right? They just wanted to see shit burn. I mean, doesn't matter who was around, nothing. They just wanted to see it burn. And they felt some type of satisfaction with seeing the chaos around them. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And again, I guess you take that from, what they're feeling. If you're feeling worthless, if you're feeling like, you have no support or love.
I think about when I did that study when I was getting my master's degree. We did a little study out in Shickley, Nebraska. And part of rural therapy, the conversation.
How many people are in Shickley, Nebraska?
Not very
150 maybe.
Okay. All right, 150 people, okay.
And to listen to some of these farmers who lose their identity because they're losing farms that's been in their families for generations. These are some of the people you find in those suicidal states. Like they're.
What do you mean lose their farms? Why are they losing their farms? Is it like financial?
Bank takes them.
Or their kids don't want to take it over.
Kids don't want to take it over.
Lots of
bankruptcy. I mean, there's all kinds of things. Especially going back to the 80s. There was a lot of bankruptcies in farms.
So to me, it's always fine. Call it black on black violence, but there are things going on in the rural communities that we need to address. And I'm at the point where, regardless of race, we're all suffering.
We're all suffering.
Yeah.
So you brought up the school shootings type thing. Yeah. So. If you can believe this, we actually have two definitions of mass murders.
Okay.
If you can believe it. The FBI it's an active shooter.
Okay.
And there was only 103 of those people killed in that FBI. So then you have the gun violence archive, and theirs is a 706. Because we have these two definitions.
What's the difference in definition?
I think you see how. I mean, from what I understand,
it's politics.
From what I understand, I think how it plays out is it's an interesting thing because, like I said, I was born in 1975. There was a time that gang violence was not included in the mass murder category.
Yeah. Oh, really?
No. They didn't account. It was gang violence.
So hold up, like in Compton, when stuff was happening, that's not like a mass murder when somebody comes in a drive-by and shoots like 6 people.
And now they include all that in the same language.
Oh, so like right now in Chi-Town, Labor Day or Memorial Day,
it's a mass
shooting. Yeah. But it didn't used to be like that.
No, that's not how they used to describe it.
The cocaine wars wasn't like that.
No.
But
that's a difference in numbers.
Well, and the only thing that on the media again, they sensationalize is if it's black on white or white on black.
Right. Of course they do.
I mean, they don't talk about that. They brush the other stuff underneath the rug, which is it's awareness. I mean, until we get everybody aware of it, everybody at least in the same hymnal. Maybe they're not going to be on the same song, but until we get people recognizing it broadly, we're never going to fix it.
Well, these things are very sensationalized for sure. When it comes to, let's just ask about Second Amendment just in general, right? Mm-hmm. Second Amendment, point blank. How I used to think of this until who brought this? I don't know. We have a lot of conversations about this, I think.
We have.
And LG, bro, we've had a lot of conversations on this, and I'm not for sure who brought this to me, okay? But I'm just going to say it because I don't think it was my idea. I know it wasn't my idea. But when I used to say, okay, we need Second Amendment first and foremost for protection from the government, right? That's what it was about, right? In the Constitution, it's not really for protection for you against me or me against you. First off, it's protection from me against the king, right? Or what they didn't want the federal government to be. Was to be able to just come in your home and do whatever. So you wanted to have
a check and balance,
right? So then it's like if the government has a tank, then shit, I should be able to have a tank. If the government got a heat-seeking missile. Was that you? Okay,
Yeah,
okay, right? So if the government has a heat-seeking missile, because it's like, okay, so where does Second Amendment stop then, right? Does Second Amendment stop at this AR-15, which is not even assault rifle? It means
Armalite rifle.
Armalite rifle. It's a brand, like Kleenex to tissue. Wild.
I mean, they have
Band-Aid to
jets
Band-Aid.
that are worth $30 billion. I hope your AR-15 helps you in a fight with the government.
Like so that's the second thing, right? That's the second thing, because I'm like, hold on, like, okay, I want to be able to have the heat-seeking missile that they have. I should be able to have that as a citizen if they have that. But then it's like, okay, now let's keep it real. The armament that I do have, I want to be all Second Amendment. Because I can be against the government, or I could be able to. Not be against the government. I'm not against the government. I'm not trying to hurt the government. Never. What I'm trying to say is, if there was the premise of having the Second Amendment to protect yourself against a tyrannical government, how does that stack up, just like you said, with my little gun against a drone, against, a ballistic missile, against...
When it was written, too, I mean, they had a cannon, you could have a cannon as a private citizen. And they pared it down, I think, probably... Well, really, it was during the big gangster stuff, the automatic weapons.
Like the Tommy gun?
Yeah, because they were fully automatic.
Okay.
Which is a very interesting conversation in itself.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like the gangster?
Yeah, because, they make movies about those gangsters from the 30s, and they hail them as heroes. Why they do the gangsters that come from my community and shame them and make them look...
Oh.
Like, why the difference?
Okay, so I want to have Ramias on here. My cousin Ramias, he talks about The Godfather, and he talks about Godfather's Pizza. So Godfather's Pizza, they have these commercials, right? We shoot down the competition. It's this guy in this old, mobster Italian type dude. We shoot down the competition. Ting, ting, ting. Drops the price. We'll murder anybody's prices, basically. It's saying crap like this, right? And that's all cool. There's like, could you imagine having like the Crips chicken? It'd be like, yo, fam, like we fucking will kill the competition. Like we're going to do a drive-by on these prices. Pat, pat, pat. Like, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
There's a difference.
Right? Wait, there's a difference in the acceptance.
Without a doubt. Or
right.
How it's looked at and how it's described when they report on it.
But there's no difference in the violence. There's no difference in
those things have similarities.
Right? In the brutality.
So it drives me crazy, and that they say there's no correlation to the violent video games in any shootings. And I don't... I grew up really without video game. Maybe we had Ping and, whatever those... Atari type stuff was.
I love Call of Duty.
We never had any of them.
You say you love that Call of Duty?
I love Call of Duty.
COD.
Lots of people do, man. I mean,
Absolutely. To my knowledge, I've not shot anybody yet.
No.
Wait, but they do train soldiers with those video games. Or similar shit to those video games, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feed my ego these days. I just kill people online.
Kill people online.
Get your headset on, man.
Yeah, right.
So,
but what you were saying, I mean...
Well, it just... They've said there's no correlation in between that and these additional shootings, but someplace from when I grew up to today, guns have become cool. When I grew up, they were like a tool. They were like for hunting or sport shooting.
it's like a screwdriver.
Yeah, and it's the same thing I do now. I mean, I go out and do target practicing, but I've traveled around the world and done some hunting. Been very lucky.
Really quick, when you say guns become cool, for example, could you, like, in your day, when somebody scored a touchdown, would they ever do a gun celebration? Like, have you ever seen a gun celebration?
Yeah, not in my little town, they didn't.
Now, like, I could imagine, like, did everybody ever do, like, the six-shooter, like like that type of thing?
Like that in the movies?
Well, just
like that,
well,
like,
I mean,
like you hit a putt.
Frontier days and that type stuff.
But nobody really, you're saying, like, do it a touchdown. Nobody was doing a touchdown thing.
No.
Because, I mean, you're seeing right now, right? Like, the biggest celebration, one of the biggest celebrations is doing, like, after scored touchdowns, doing the guns, doing the shooting, right? It's like and they're getting flagged for it, but they're still doing it.
But somehow we turned it into being sexy or acceptable or something different.
We've minimized, I think you told me this.
Okay.
We were talking about the devil And you said to me, devil is devaluing something.
Oh yeah. So that wasn't me.
And we have devalued life to the point where it's become easy for us to take it.
Yeah.
Okay, really quick. That was I heard that from brother Khalid Muhammad, I believe. That's the Nation of Islam brother, who actually got kicked out of the nation, maybe, possibly. No, I take that back. Sorry, that was another brother from Britain. Anyways, the Nation of Islam brother. His name starts with an L. Lucas Muhammad or Lewis Muhammad, something like that. Anyway, that brother was saying that in Hyde Park. Yes, the devil is to devalue, because someone was saying like, "Hey, Nation of Islam is racist because one of your leaders, Elijah Muhammad, he would say that the white man is the devil." He said, "Well, let's take down what experiences he had." And the devil root of that word is to devalue, one who devalues. So in his experience, he's seen white people devaluing black people. And so that's what was called devil, was to devalue. So that's where that came from. But you're right, so right now, our devaluing of life. So if you're consistently playing a video game that kind of trained you to devalue life, could that be a correlation? Or you're culturally, right? When we have a problem on a national scale, what do? We go kill somebody.
Oh, you talking about
national scale.
Gotcha.
When we have a problem, we
blow
go
shit
kill,
up.
bang, bang, right? We go kill somebody. And then we're expected to tell these kids, don't go kill somebody when you have a problem. Well, I think I rapped a long time ago. I said something to the effect of, well, the kid, how are we going to tell little Chris to stop serving packs when his examples is all doing bad? They tell little boy to do peace or something, right, to not shoot back. But he's like, look, first I saw you do Vietnam. Now we still in Iraq. Now we're at the next place. So what is he going to do? Right? He's going to go commit war just like you're doing.
There's and I'm going to butcher the word. Maybe this is one of the words that you can look up, but it's a sociology term. I think it's called ANOMIE. And I think that it's so important because citizens are demanded to meet these expectations in this society as members of this society. They're expected to act a certain way, but like you said, the government gets to go blow shit up and then tell a kid you should get locked up for 5 years for having some weed. Wait, there's a discrepancy in the outcomes here. He's smoking weed. You're knocking down whole nations.
Whole nation.
Why do you get to judge this kid?
Yeah. Well, and we look at our laws.
Bugged out, bro.
They smoked a whole nation. He smoked a joint.
There's a rap song.
He smoked.
There's a rap song.
Smoked a nation. He smoked a joint. That's wild. That's tough.
So I think of things at that level, bro. That's where my mind operates.
The
hypocrisy that described whoa, kids are being born into this. They're growing and they don't even know the game that's being played.
Sure. Now let's think about when they're saying gun control. Okay. Now you have, for the main part, right, that this is the left or the ultra left, the left of center, that really wants really strict gun control. And a lot of these cities, for example, that are controlled by this ultra left, like Chicago or New York, how hard is it to have a handgun in these cities? Some have handgun bans.
Yeah, I mean, you can't permit them there and you can't get them, but they're buying them someplace else and bringing them in.
So legally, it's very hard to even have a handgun, right? Now,
it's hard to drive through the state of Illinois with weapons locked in the back of your pickup.
That's how strict the gun laws are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even realize that all the laws I broke when I drove through there because I was going hunting.
Don't be self-incriminating yourself, Pops.
I know.
It's definitely an
I go around Illinois now. I don't go through.
But so what I'm saying is but then again, the same folks that if you're, and I'm just calling it like I see it, right? Let's say if you're calling for these extra strict gun laws, but you're constantly surrounded by guns. If you're a Kamala Harris, right, and you're calling for extra strict gun laws, but you're constantly surrounded by guns, or you're constantly providing arms to other countries. I'm talking about big guns, lots of guns to other nations with taxpayer dollars, but you're constantly against Americans having guns.
What do they call that? Double talk? Like it's a
Double
talk.
Hey, that's 1984.
There you go.
There you go.
Double think, right?
But when you think about it, because they talk about weapons of war, well, I mean, we're sending weapons of war around the world. Mm-hmm. An AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle that looks scary to some people because it looks similar to what the military uses.
Yeah.
I own some. I mean, I shoot with them. I do.
Can I have your address so when things go haywire, I know where to arrive?
Ishma knows where
I
I'm
bet.
at.
I'll shoot you.
I got you. No, I started getting into gun ownership like about, 5-6 years ago. I started getting more serious about gun ownership. And mainly I did, I'm be honest, like what mine came from is like this, the more and more I got into Bobby Seale, and he's the co-founder of the Black Panthers. The more and more I got into that, I realized how much being armed is, I guess, a right that I thought I should exercise. It's just a right I think that I should exercise. And then I was coming from always, whatever. I was thinking as a Black American, right? How important I feel like it is for Black Americans to be trained in gun ownership, know how to use a gun, know how to have a gun, and in those things. Just because if we're, and I'm not saying all Black Americans, right? But there's this narrative of police brutality. There's this narrative of so many spaces being unsafe for Black people. Then it's like, well, shit, then we should be armed.
Well, and I look at it a little different with that, and we've talked about it even like your group. I said, I'd love to come in and do some gun safety things so that they don't end up learning from somebody else and somebody getting shot inadvertently in a home.
How amazing.
You're going to need a little bit more independence before you can
I know.
But how amazing would that be to be like, hey, we're going to put our Black kids through gun training, through gun training,
and
literally.
safety,
Just to understand it, because the biggest impression I think I've made on multiple different kids is shooting like a pumpkin with a shotgun and seeing how violent that is, or a gallon of water with a rifle, how that thing explodes because water doesn't compress well. And that's like, now all of a sudden kids see, wow, this is pretty violent, it's pretty real. It's way different than what I see on my video screen or what I see on TV.
Yeah. And I think that we have to be honest about the debate as well, because I think it's not really about the guns. It's the things that people say. These guns are for tyranny. Well, if you live in my world, tyranny has occurred. You've not used your gun yet. You've not used your guns yet. So why do you really have these guns? There's no more reasons to wait. Again, those are the thoughts that get me in trouble, because I think at things at a very different level.
Yeah.
And at the core, it's, wait, so if tyranny is your argument.
Yes. Like, what we waiting for? What you waiting for, cuz?
Hey, let's send $50 billion here. Hey, we don't have money for this.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's tyranny.
Bro.
So Charleston White, Charleston White?
Yeah, dude.
The brother, okay. He said something too to the effect of, and I know sometimes it sounds super violent, but I guess it's true though, right? He's like, we'll crash out. Crash out means like, I don't know, go nuts, like stand up for something or have confrontation with something, right? To crash out. He's like, we'll crash out on each other real easy. We'll crash out like over the girl, like somebody took my girl or somebody talks shit about me or said a word to me or disrespected me. When's the last time we crashed out about tyranny? Like what? And what I mean by that is like crashed out about tyranny. Like, okay, there's consequences for certain things. So if someone, okay, did everyone? I hate saying these things. Did everyone see that lady in the house when she called on the strength of Jesus,
yes,
and the policeman just shot her? Did you see that? Did you see that? Right. Okay. When are we going to crash out about that? Right. And what I mean by that is like,
well, we've been indoctrinated. We still stop at stop signs at midnight in a small rural town in Milford. Why?
Talk about that.
The levels of control that we've all dealt with all these years, man, and we just hand over our power, but I also think we're scared to use it.
For real.
Because they do have trumps.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be... I think this election could just be a shit show for our country.
Shit.
Not to turn completely political, but I just think there's going to be some bad shit going no matter what happens.
You know, at the end of the day, people for the most part just want to, most people, I think 90% of people just want to go to work. They just want to eat, go watch the idiot box, and have some little bit of pleasure. Mm-hmm. Okay? For the most part, I really think that's what it is. And I know that both sides sensationalize this, saying, if we lose this election, this is going to happen. If they lose, if there's the... I really, like, I'm rooting for, I guess, less censorship and less control. That being said, no matter what happens in the election, I still truly just believe I'm just going to keep living how I do. And I'm going to keep just making money. And,
like, go forward.
And I mean, I know some people may like really hate that I just said that, right? They'll be like, no, it means so much. It means so much. Well, shit, the last election meant so much. And the
one before that.
And you're doing the same shit, right? And you're doing the same shit like the last one, right? If Trump got in the first time, the amount of anxiety I felt when I woke up and heard Trump was president, you would have literally like thought the anxiety on my chest was like the world ended. And I hated Hillary. And I'll say that very, very blatantly. Like, I hated Hillary. And you're not supposed to hate anything, excuse me. But I really despised Hillary. I abhorred Hillary.
Well, I think she was part of that. And not that, that language, but I think you associated her along with that time with the crime bill.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, she was the super predator lady.
Super predator lady. She was also the, Biden was the, I don't want my kids with these.
Do you know... Again, you speak of gun safety, right? Or I want to teach this class. If you have a gun and your perception of a certain type of person is super predator, when this is described to you, and I think that is so overlooked when it comes to that party. And again, I try to be fair in everything I say. So when it does come to the Democratic Party, they do have to take ownership of that language when you call somebody a super predator. And now all of a sudden these police are going out with people you have called super predators.
Ooh,
and sometimes
super predators. If
I'm approaching someone who's a super predator, I'm gonna be a little closer to my trigger.
Ooh. Ooh. I mean, keep it true.
So, no, go ahead.
I've never grown up in any of that type of fear. It's me growing up. I mean, I got to tell you, the one time we were living in a smaller house in Columbus, Nebraska. Mm-hmm. Guy got to the wrong house. It's the only time I have ever pointed a firearm at another human being. And I've been...
Wait, I've heard the story. It's a drunk guy who walked in the house and like sat on your couch, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, he came in and sat down, and I'm like... I'm like from here to the wall from him with a 9 pointed at him saying, dude, you're in the wrong place. Get out. And, I was afraid he was going to do something stupid and it was going to be a life-altering decision I was going to have to make. But my baby girl's in the room right
But really
next
quick,
to
this is a white guy, right? In Columbus?
Yeah, he was, but I didn't know that at the time because it was dark. I mean, I didn't turn any lights on, man, because I didn't know how many people there were.
Yeah.
That had to have been terrifying.
Oh, it scared the shit out of me.
I would imagine.
But this was just like,
wow.
Just in general, like being able to show restraint for another human being. It's like, hey, before I take your life, let me give you every freaking chance to just leave here peacefully.
Yeah.
But that's what I think in education we have done as well, is like when you do talk about the chemistry of what life means. And I think we've devalued life a lot in our society.
Now, really quick, imagine if when you were at home the last 2 nights, the last 2 days, you heard on the news every day for the last 2 days that there's this super predator on the loose. There's this killer on the loose. There's this person on the loose that is just going to rob in your home, is going to rape your children, and going to hold your wife up, and they're going to murder you, right? You hear that for consistently for a couple weeks or for a couple days. Now this guy comes in your house, and he's in the dark, and he breaks in the house. How much more liable are you to just to be like, bam?
Yeah, absolutely.
Way more. For example, when I was doing police training, I did a Citizens Academy. So I did police training, excuse me. I did Citizens Academy. It's like for 6 weeks, you spend a couple hours doing police training in different disciplines. One of the disciplines was we're doing our active shooter training, and you have this pretty dope weighted gun. It has a little kickback or whatever, like a real gun. What's that, recoil? It has a little recoil like a real gun or whatever. It's, cop issued, and you're playing a video game. It's like a dope video game, like really immersive video games, big full screen. And you go into different situations, right? So the first one was like active shooter. I'm going there. I'm out here. Bam, 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 like a video game, like Time Crisis. I'm murking fools, right? And it was sweet. I'm getting my adrenaline up. I'm getting, you know what I'm saying? My bravado's feeling it. I'm feeling it. Different situations. Then we get to the situation if you're in the park. I was at Holmes Lake. I'm familiar with this park, right? Because they do the simulations in places in Lincoln that you're familiar with. I'm familiar with this park. We're at Holmes Lake. The report is there's a lady with a gun. It might be a toy or whatever. People don't really know, right? But you're just going to go check it out. So I go to check it out naturally, and you're supposed to do all the commands and the talking and things. So I come up, and her back is to me, right? And as I'm walking, I'm like, hey. And they're like, oh, well, you have and so there's a person kind of giving you guidance as you're doing this, an officer who's a trainer. And he says, oh, well, you're going to a gun situation, so you have to have your gun out. So it's like policy, or maybe this is unwritten policy. I'm not sure exactly, but I was instructed as, oh, we're going to go look at for a gun. You need to have your gun out. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, well, shit, like it could just be a toy, right? I just got reports where this could be a toy. What does it remind you of right off bat? Or me, Tamir Rice.
Tamir Rice. Right?
Tamir Rice is what I hear. Tamir Rice, the brother in Ohio, right? Or Cleveland, or yeah. And so, or Toledo, or wherever it was catastrophe. Oh my gosh, I should know, excuse me, but I know it was Ohio. But anyway, so I'm hearing this and I'm like, I don't have my gun out, but I was instructed to have my gun out. So I have my gun out. I'm giving my instructions. Hey, turn around. Hey, put your hands up, or I can't remember exactly what I was saying, right? I was trying to give her some type of thing. On the video screen, she turns around real fast and was like, hey. And she turned around and she has the gun, but she's not like really pointed it at me, but she turns around with the gun. Okay. I just did 3 active shooters. I had just been told to have my gun out. My adrenaline level is on 10 because I just trained for shooter. And these motherfuckers was turning around on me, yap, in the active shooter, right?
Oh, wow.
So she turns around on me just like I had just been conditioned to. What do? Wow. I murk her, bro. Straight to the thing. And like, I was getting amazing marks on the things. Like I said, I was trying to, they were trying to recruit me. They're like, hey, bro, you're the sauce. I killed the innocent lady straight in the dome piece, right? It changed. I was fucked up for like, I don't know, man, like a couple months. My whole head was just, I felt like I'd killed somebody. Like, right. I was really messed up. Like you would have made
that decision.
I was messed up, man. My whole mind was, I was like in depression. I had to get myself out of a funk, right? So what I'm saying to say that is, if you're trained with this heightened sense, of just adrenaline, of
super predator.
What am I going to do? What am I going to think? How am I going to legislate? How am I going to judge? Right? So this goes all around. This isn't just police. Then it goes to the judge. If I'm thinking super predator, how am I going to judge this young man that comes in front of me that needs a second chance, or that was stole because he was hungry? When I'm talking about, I'm a prosecutor. Now he's just a super predator. Let me try to get the most that I can. Right? Yeah. These are the things that goes all around.
And I think it's languages and beliefs and those type of policies and discriminations or whatever is the reason why they're thinking about building up $400 million new facility. And like, we don't need more prisons. We need people that participate in the community and give these kids some consistency, spend some time with them. Gun violence will go down because they will feel more connected. And we don't have to talk about whether we need gun control or not, because the kids themselves who have now improved their skill set have guns, but don't do stupid things with them.
Yeah, I mean, I've hunted since I was...
Yeah, there is no reason why somebody shouldn't have a gun.
8. I think I was 8 years old the first time I went hunting with my father.
Mm-hmm. Now to clarify really quick, like
So that'd have been 52 years ago, because I'm 60.
Now, like if somebody's a violent criminal, right? That's a reason why somebody can't have a gun.
True.
Right?
Very true.
Okay.
Yes, very true.
Or
well, I don't know.
okay, help me out. For real. Because I think about things, right? Like for
This is
example,
more a joke. So please accept
Okay.
this as a joke. This is a joke.
okay.
Those people that were blowing up people 100 years ago still get to have their guns.
Why is it a joke?
Well,
It
it was for my own safety net.
it was a different, and I think the one thing that has been good about some of the evolution of our society has been, I think clear back, in the country western days where nobody lived long.
No.
Everybody lots of people got lead poisoning every day. And, so I think some of it has gotten better, and then parts of it have gotten worse because we've sensationalized some of this stuff through movies and other things.
And I think, as a society, we've learned to compartmentalize. So we don't look at the entire wave that's crashing. We look like, these people are having problems. Like we as a whole society are dealing with a tidal wave of issues and these misleading discussions about gun violence. And like ultimately the issue is you have a lot of people that are broken, hurt, traumatized, all these things in your society, and they have access to weapons. The problem is not the gun. The problem is what do we do with these broken people and how do we get them help before they have an emotional episode and have access to a gun?
Now, so many people are mad when something sensible like that is said, right? And let's be honest, like I will not lie. The guns do help. They're a catalyst. If somebody wants to crash out and go off the rails, a gun is a great way to do it, right? Compared to like stabbing, right? Like, if I take a sword, right, and I go into a crowded place, right, it's much harder to kill more people, right? People can run away easier maybe, or, I'm not saying I can't do damage. Like, swordsmen will fuck people up. Like, I'm not saying that, right? But just your novice person with a gun, they can go in and create a lot of damage with a gun.
Wow.
And sadly, and have.
Now, but that being said, you can create damage with a lot of things, but you can't just outlaw guns just because people are doing things bad with them. And I don't know. It sucks too, right? Like my father, he was killed from gun violence, right? So, and I've lost a father to gun violence. That's like really close to me, right? That's kind of really hits home. That being said, right, I don't think that the gun by itself, right, is the issue.
It's a smokescreen discussion. Like it's a discussion meant to distract us from the real issues.
Yeah.
And the real issue being
those numbers.
These numbers, the brokenness, the brokenness, just in general, the brokenness,
Yeah.
the people that are broken.
Yeah, and forgotten. And like I said earlier, they're out there and they feel hopeless and they feel worthless and they have access to a gun and they've been drinking and now I'm in a room all by myself and no one's walking through that door.
Yeah.
For me, if my son is in that situation, I'm gonna go see my son. And to hell with this job, bro. We will kick it for the next 3 days. Some of these people don't have anyone that comes.
No.
And the person that does come only judges them.
Yeah, it's not. They were not showing up for the right reasons.
Right. They're frustrated that you even called them.
Yeah.
And I would like to get a number on this, but I don't have a number right away. People can comment a number if you can. When these amazingly horrible events happen, we're talking about school shootings or kids just in general doing these suicides and these amazingly horrible things. So many of them are taking psychotropic medications. I don't have the exact number. I don't have the exact data. But anecdotally, when these happen, they're usually on these medications.
And because of the nature of my profession, my data counts. I see it. The kids that I work with, medication is something that we check in. So to your point, there's a lot of kids on medication. A lot.
Okay. On these medications, some of them have side effects of suicidal thoughts, homicidal thoughts. What? I guess what I'm saying is why? I guess what's the justification in a profession to heal someone when you have a side effect as dangerous as suicide?
I mean, you know the answer to that. That's big business.
Big business and big Band-Aids.
Indeed.
I mean, they're trying to put a Band-Aid on something that needs stitches. And the big pharma, they control way too much.
They make a lot of money. And they make a lot of money under the guise of
Helping.
And who's going to argue with helpers?
Do you ever feel pressured, I guess, by the society of medicating children to suggest medication in situations?
Well, I mean, who I am as a therapist, I agree with the idea that people have a choice. And I ask a family, hey, are you for or against medication? And if they're against it, I stay in that lane. You know what I'm saying? I don't make that decision for people. However, for myself, I certainly understand for long-term success, medication is a Band-Aid. Mm-hmm. It's a Band-Aid. What you got to get back to is those executive functioning skills. You got to study it. You got to know what it is. You got to commit to the activity of it. And then all of a sudden, it's easier to handle those situations that you come across.
And the patient, the child has, all you can do is give them the tools to get there. Yeah. You can't force them there.
No.
And that's really what we try to do with medication is we're trying to force behaviors. And
well, you're trying to modify behavior.
Yeah.
And modifying behaviors with medication is a
Band-Aid at best.
Because you can't eat naturally.
Oh, what, we're going to talk about diet?
No, what time is it?
We're going to talk about diet, Sweat? I don't know.
We got like 25 minutes and we got to do picks at the end, so you got to help us with some football picks.
So really quick, should we talk about diet for just a second? Is that okay? I'd like to. People look at me crazy when I say that food dyes, will affect your children's behavior. People look at me crazy when I tell them that sugar will affect your child's behavior, right? They think that I'm nut damn crazy when I say these things. Even though there's studies that show that the red dye number 40 or that blue lake and all the yellow, all those dyes have neurological consequences. And they've been shown in multiple studies biologically to do harm, right? Why do you think there's such a taboo around talking about diet when it comes to behavior?
It's probably ease. So for, a kid's got $20, what choice is he going to make? Is he going to want that candy that he saw his buddy at school eating? Or is he going to want to go get organic oranges?
Sure. What about when it comes to families? Right? Do families look at you crazy if you ever bring up diet? Do you ever bring up diet, Lawrence?
We bring up diet all the time.
Are they receptive?
Because for those that are looking for a natural cure to their symptoms, yes, they are very receptive to the idea of changing their diets. I mean, how they go about doing it, like you're talking about, that's a difficult part, and like when I first started working with my wife and we were talking about poverty, and she was like, yeah, poverty is a thing, but you can buy rice and beans, and rice and beans, you could make burritos for days. So for her, it's always problem solving. Yeah, it's poverty, but you could still do these things. So
yes,
when it comes to diet, we got to get people on the idea of it's self-care. You need those nutrients that help you sleep well at night, the magnesium, the potassium, and all those things you get out of fruits and veggies. And those things can help you with your depression and your anxiety. Sure. Eating healthy is a form of mental health.
Sure. Definitely.
And I think some people are receptive to that.
Some people
How they go about doing it is the bigger challenge. I don't think they deny it, though,
Is there anything in the DSM about switching diet to help symptoms?
I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's specifically in the DSM, but I do know that more and more people are considering yoga, dietary changes, a more holistic approach to healing.
Sure.
So it's being, you know what I'm saying, like I said, the old guards are being challenged now. People are looking for different methods to heal themselves.
I'm happy to hear that. Like I said, because I'm just not around it enough to know.
And I think that's probably one of the really good things about the internet. There's a lot more information available for people to look at.
Please don't ban TikTok.
Keep on TikTok.
But you know, when you think about that, there's way more information out there that you can get today as a family, as individuals. It's just much different than when I grew up. But and I grew up meat and potatoes. I'm still kind of a meat and potatoes guy. But we buy very little beef and pork at the store.
So you guys buy it by
I'm
the
buying by
quarter,
half
by
or
half a quarter.
quarter.
Yep.
Of people that I know that raised them, and local butcher stuff, not processed stuff that I have no idea where it came from. I'm still just a Mr. Meat and Potatoes. That's how I grew up, and it's probably how I'll always be.
I mean, good food, good scotch is kind of who I am, and if it includes meat, it includes meat. But there are times that I'll go 30 days without eating anything cooked.
Yeah.
So again, it's all activity.
Yeah.
It's all activity.
And conditioning.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a brother over there doing some soliciting. I say very clearly on my door, no soliciting. But I'm a sucker for a salesman. And I was like, man, if I wasn't doing a podcast right now, brother, I would listen to your whole pitch.
Just to tell him no.
Right.
Sometimes I end up buying just because, man. I do it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of in the same place, when I brought up this whole gun piece and the suicide. I mean, I was kind of in the same spot. But I want to see where you were at from your professional standpoint.
I mean, when it comes to suicide, we have to remember, like, the military were leading those.
Oh, yeah. Guys coming back from military.
They were the number one.
They still are, aren't they?
They still are.
Yep.
So, and that's why I said, like, we got to stop compartmentalizing problems and looking at it from a wider perspective, because we're all suffering, and these veterans that are coming back, there's a reason why they're committing suicide at that level. And sometimes as a therapist, I wonder if some of those guys can't handle living with the idea that they did what they did, and now they got to come back.
Okay, really quick. I'm sorry, man. In 2022, found that as many, something like 40, on average, like 40 veterans are dying a day of suicide. What the?
Bro.
So there was a movie that I was with another director on a movie set, and she had made a movie about, it was a commercial set, I think. But anyways, she made a movie about, it was called, I don't know, maybe it's called like 100 seconds or something, because it's like every 100 seconds a veteran committed suicide in America.
It's sad, and we don't discuss it enough.
I mean, are these guys, I would imagine, are these guys just seeing the horrendous things and their demons are...
Which is crazy, because playing a game like Call of Duty, and you see, I mean, they put you firsthand on what it would look like.
I've seen it.
These guys see it for reals.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how? And you got to sleep at night and just come on, bro. Yeah, I feel
72
terrible.
72 suicides a day. Based on that 2001, that information there that you're looking at, 72 a day. I just took the total number and divided by 365.
From just in general.
Yeah, I mean this.
Okay, and like 40 of those are military people.
44 of those are military people.
Goodness gracious, that is an epidemic. That is a problem. And I would say, okay, really quick, have you ever had this call? I hate this call. I gotta stop saying hate. Okay, I despise this call. Will you support Wounded Warriors of America? Will you donate $10 to someone that lost their leg or got blown up by IED, has half a face? What the hell do I have to support that for? Ain't that what the hell my tax dollars supposed to be doing? Ain't that what, if you send a gentleman or a lady halfway across the damn country to go blow up some brown people that have nothing to do with anything, and then they get blown up and you send them back and you're not supporting them, you got to come and ask me for some money for these people? How, what? That's blasphemous. That's a slap in the face to anybody. Like, if you receive that call, just the fact that there's a nonprofit out there, and there's many of them out there. Mm-hmm. The fact there's nonprofits out there, that's redonkulous. Talk about patriotism or whatever like that. Like, why aren't people crashing out about that?
I'm of the belief that if you serve this country, that you should come back to, here's a house, and you get it tax-free for the rest of your life. You have no payments. Here's your house.
If you're willing to go to war.
If you're willing to go to war for me, here's a house on your way back. Where do you want to live? Pick where you want to go. We'll get it for you in that neighborhood. Thank you.
So, like, real quick, like back in the day,
the GI Bill.
Well, no, like I'm going way back in the day.
Way back.
I'm going to like some shit that I watched. You know, like little movies about, you know, like all those warring nations in Europe. You know, like during like the Middle Ages and shit like that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, if you were a soldier, you get a house, you get a plot of land, you get a joint. Like, you're covered if you're a soldier. Like, if you go to war for us, you got it made over here. Like for a minute. That's not how it is for veterans. Like, how many homeless veterans?
And I think that's, yeah, man, I feel terrible for veterans.
Now, I'm not saying I even agree, because I don't agree. And I kind of, man, like I really look down on sometimes people that go to war for these reasons. But then it's like, well, I don't know their situation. They thought they were going to probably doing a good thing. They were just trying to help, whatever it is, right? But they come back. How did the country not support them?
And they were following orders.
Yeah, no matter.
I mean, you know.
Ooh. Now that gets sticky.
It is, but, you know, they signed up for what they signed up for, and if that's not what they want to sign up for, then they should have signed up.
Yeah, and if you sign up.
And I know that's a toughie.
Like I said, man, like, I feel terrible. Like, that number of 44 veterans a day, that's an astronomical number at the end of the year.
Yeah. No, it's
over half the suicides.
Yeah, I'm not good at math, but 44 for a day for 365, 366 on a leap year.
And there's only 72 a day of total suicides.
Oh, that's just wild. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I know that, you know, we're talking about this morbidity kind of in a way that we're not, I guess, taking this lightly, right? Anybody that's been touched by suicide, our heart goes out. We have empathy towards it. We're here talking because we would like to create the conversation that helps get to some sort of helpful solution to where we can decrease this number and more people can stay alive with their loved ones here and can understand that they're worth staying alive.
Right, and you don't have to come back, bro. Like I said, here's your house. Go decompress.
And
for as long as you need. You don't have to worry about no rent, no bills, none of that anxiety and stress that comes with having to go to work right away. Go relax.
Stress is stress. And then
Huge.
You're thinking about what you did or what happened to you, or your brother just got blown up right next to you. Or I mean, you saw a civilian got blown up by another or by a warring thing. Or there's so many different situations.
They're in some tough spots.
I mean, what about those brothers that were in Afghanistan and they're leaving, hightailing it out of there, and then you got like people throwing their babies over the barbed wire fences at the airport to try to get them to you, and the babies are landing on the barbed wire, I'm hearing, and getting torn to shreds. If you see something like that, how can you go back to, like, I'm going to sell you insurance now? Right? I'm going to go work at Rent-A-Center.
Yeah, man,
right?
Anything. It's
So now you think about those brothers, and I don't know, let's talk about this real quick. Okay, the men that were in Iwo Jima or freaking Normandy or wherever, Omaha Beach, or you know, the brothers in Italy from the Spike Lee movie, you know, they got caught. Okay, they see all this, they come back,
and their combat was even closer.
Yeah.
These days we hit you with planes.
Sometimes sometimes
they were closer in hand-to-hand combat.
Oh yeah.
So
And there's guerrilla warfare still. There's guerrilla warfare still now, but I know. But the battlefield every day.
Yeah.
To this day, no, but for every day that battlefield was. You're right. It was, and it was machete. Like, you know, what's the melee? Right. It's the little
right. Yeah.
The sword on the end of the gun type shit. Like,
that's what they say.
And when they run out of bullets,
so they come back. So my great grandfather, Earl Baldwin, right? He was in World War II, right? Shit, he came back, sold cars, had babies. I don't know. He didn't have trauma. What? I mean, like so many of those guys, it seemed like, and maybe I'm just wrong and ignorant. I don't know. It feels like so many of those guys just came back and just did life. Well, like, what is that about?
I think there was two pieces of that. Some of them came back and thrived. Others had children, added to our racial problems. You know, there was other things that happened that I don't think we understand today.
Sure.
And may never understand them.
Well, you think about the terrible time the soldiers that came back from Vietnam had.
Oh, yeah.
They were hated. There you go, yeah.
They were hated. Oh. Well, see, and I wasn't there, right, when the guys come back from World War II, right? I'm not there. So it's just, I have no sense of what was actually
But that was the
happening.
baby boomers. I mean, they came back from World War II, and that was the beginning of the baby boom, you know, from whatever that 50 to 64 is the end of it.
But you're right, they did come back as heroes.
They came back as heroes. They came back and married, bought houses, bought cars, had children.
Like, you come back, you're like, I fought in World War II. Somebody just like, you're hired.
That's why I think even the national conversation about, like, we got to be more careful, because there are people out there that think they go and do what's in the best interest of their country, and we come back and we call them terrible names and treat them terribly. It's, you know, even if you feel that way, I don't think that should be a policy that some party has.
Well, I mean, I've been guilty of that, I think, as well, of not being as empathetic to their life situation but I think none of us, not none of us, so many of us are. Like, for example, like the other day we were saying, like, terrorists. So if we're talking about Hamas, all of a sudden they're terrorists, right? But, well, what the fuck? Like, we just had soldiers in Afghanistan, in Iraq. They're not terrorists? Like, they were terrorizing people. In Iraq, did we not kill 3 million civilians in Iraq?
I think it falls into that 1984 doublethink. Double talk.
Like, they're terrorists, but our guys are only heroes, and then vice versa. Like, so then now, like, if I don't agree with the war in Afghanistan, now these guys are bad guys, right? That's crazy.
See, and to me, not agreeing with that war is not agreeing with the government. I don't hold those soldiers that signed up to go do the right thing. They felt they signed up. You know, some of them signed up for school.
Sure,
you know, because they wanted to have college. You know, they sign up for all kinds of things. They get called up and they go and do the job.
$60,000 bonus. When I first had Ishma, my son, there's a $60,000 bonus that was dangling over your head, and it was go to Iraq, basically. You know, if you join, you know you're going to Iraq, right? $60,000 bonus. 2009, I'm looking like $60,000 bonus. I could mess around for $60,000, right? It had me thinking, you know me, brother. Okay, it had me seriously considering going to war for $60K.
I mean, I think a lot of people do look at joining the military as a come up. Like, I get my college paid for, I get a bonus, like this better situation than I'm in now.
Yeah.
Right?
You know,
well, they look at it as an opportunity to change their life in a better way. You know, sometimes they get screwed up in the process, but that's why these endless wars that we drag ourselves into halfway around the world is crazy.
But then you got a guy like me calling you whatever name because you try to advance yourself, and now I'm talking shit and I wouldn't go to war. Right? Well, and I'm looking like, hey, you're a whatever.
I don't know if that's true.
You know what I'm saying? I'll be saying, like, I kind of call myself, like,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm over here talking crap about, you know. But then again, I kind of take it to that other point, too, right? So Hitler has an army, and he's telling people that this is the way, this is how we progress, this is how we do shit. And those soldiers, they go and gas people, right? I mean, I'm just keep it real. Like, right? We go around the world. Whether you're on a drone, whether you're on a what you call it, you go and you kill people, right? They're just following orders, just like they're just following orders.
Yep.
I mean, at some point, someone has to be wrong, or you have to make the decision, like, oh, this is not an order to follow.
Yeah, I mean, again,
right? If Hamas has an order,
yeah.
Really quick, if a man has an order from Hamas to go and blow up a school in Tel Aviv, right? At some point, he has to say, "No, fuck this order,"
and then he gets shot.
You know,
at least we're not doing that to the. So I mean, we don't treat them very well when they come home, and some of them get court-martialed and end up in prison for doing stupid shit that they shouldn't have done. But I think the problem is with all of these wars, we're over there trying to present our values on them, and we don't even know what the hell their values are over there. Mm-hmm. But we're saying, we're the West, we're right. And look at our history. We haven't been right 100% of the time.
He said we ain't got a good track record of being right.
Well,
It's
a gray area, man.
It's an
hard.
interesting discussion that I think people need to have, but it is a scary discussion, and I get that. I think it's something that I said before is, like you said, I think you said just now, as far as war is concerned, it's like, I would go to war. Especially if I had powers like Thanos. You know what I'm saying? Because of all the social ills that we talk about, this is where that idea of God gets really supplanted into me. Because if you were to really go to war with the things that you believe in, you would need those type of superpowers to have a chance. And I have those thoughts in my mind because I do know how scary it is to talk about this type of stuff. And we suppress this information. We all keep it bottled. And as a consequence, the nation continues on the way that it is. Yeah. We're afraid to talk about it.
Think about it like this, Ishma. Going to war, you said no way you'd go to war. If war came to here... Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got to protect your kids and
wife. You cowboy up,
bro.
Sure. Just like I would, man.
Without a doubt, I'll be right there with you.
Sure.
And Dad will be right there with you.
Yeah.
It's.
Hopefully, war doesn't come to us. When's the last time wars came to American soil?
Well, 9/11. Yep.
And then we go to the Pentagon. The most. Oh, correct me if I'm wrong. I would say the most well secured and visually monitored building in the world is the Pentagon.
Probably the White House, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would it be number 2? Number
It'd be
3, maybe?
Gotta be up
like
there.
the White House, the Capitol building, and the Pentagon.
It'd be up there.
The Pentagon's where we hold all of our national secrets or something. It's like, they keep the books for the military there, right? You would think it'd be pretty secure. That being said, have you seen the hole size in the Pentagon from a plane?
Just the pictures.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm just saying the eye test the bullshit thing, but then I get onto the whole, and I know I don't want to turn into a whole conspiracy theory, but I'm just keeping it true. Show me the video of that plane going through. How come the citizens of America, there's an attack on America, then why can't the citizens of America see the footage, official footage of the plane flying into the building?
Every time I hear questions like that, I think of this book, and I've not read it, but I love the title. Another Night in Bullshit City.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's...
Like, when things like that happen, I'm not, like, 9/11 doesn't surprise me. Tuskegee, syphilis, this is the nature of our, like, all these things have happened so much to not expect something crazy to happen is like...
So then I'd like to just say one more thing. If the hijackers are... What I forget the number. Is it 24 or 23 or 22? Let's say it's 22. 21 out of 22 hijackers are from what country? Saudi Arabia. Not Afghanistan, not Iraq. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Why are we at war with Iraq or Afghanistan after that?
Well,
so I'm saying...
I think the answer involves money.
Of course. But these people hurt us on our soil.
But... because they're a citizen of that country doesn't mean that they were doing it for that country either. I mean, it's but we could chase this rabbit hole for 4 or 5 hours and probably just never get anywhere except sore butts.
I've never heard that before. That's funny.
He said that's a good one. What is it? Time for picks?
We need to get to our picks, and we had our picks. You got your phone? You don't have your phone. It's over there.
Yeah, it's over there. But I know the picks really quick. I know I want to talk about last week. We do college football picks just because why not? And I like the escape of college football. Mm-hmm. What's that? The circus or the gladiator?
Yeah, the Coliseum.
Yeah, the Coliseum. Thank you.
And it's a great. College sports have been a great. I don't want to say fun communication for Ish and I
Well, it has.
to grow in our relationship and spend more time together.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we gamble on college sports, y'all.
It is so intriguing right now.
It
Them
is.
conference alliances, bro. Wow. USC playing Michigan. Nebraska, USC. They got some games that are must see TV.
One time I have to tell y'all the story of, we'll have to have this is a whole podcast of, I watched the third and fourth quarter of the Nebraska-Colorado game in a Fremont bar. In a bar in Fremont, Nebraska. Because I was filming in Fremont, Nebraska.
Yeah.
I was filming there. I watched the last half at Fremont, Nebraska.
Shout out Fremont.
Yeah.
That was the most wild thing ever. Like the stories from that one.
This is a tomorrow night game, I think.
Oh yeah, the tomorrow night. What, the
Which one
Thursday?
is this?
Yeah, we took the Terps. We took Maryland.
Yeah, Maryland. Well, I thought
Over-
that was Friday.
Maryland over.
Northwestern.
By 10 or 14, I forget. I have to look at the ticket.
What day is the? Yeah, by 10.
By 10. So I thought it was
It's the
Friday
11th.
night.
It is.
It's a Friday night game?
Yeah, it's a Friday night game.
Yeah. So Friday night game. We got Maryland over Northwestern. Northwestern's just been looking beat up, been looking bad. They keep on getting toasted by people. They just got toasted by Indiana, but Indiana looks legit. I like their coach when they're like, how come you're successful or something? He's like, look, man, that's what I do, man. Google me. I win.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I win.
Get it in.
Google me.
So, yeah, we like Maryland.
And we took the Buckeyes over the Ducks.
We like the Buckeyes. We got them at 4. It moved to 3.5, Pops.
It went down.
It moved to 3.5.
I can't believe it didn't go
I
the other
couldn't
way.
believe it.
Man, they about to beat the brakes out of Oregon.
That's what I think. That's what I think. Hey, okay, I'm gonna keep it real. I just have a disdain for Oregon because the coach reminds me of Loveless from Wild Wild West. Remember Loveless? And
That's a bad reason to dislike it.
bro, the actor is like amazing. Who plays Loveless? I forget the brother's name, but he's done so much. But literally, like that's what I see when I see that guy. I see Loveless. Like
The coach of Oregon.
Oregon, yeah. And remember that?
I didn't like it when he was like giving his
we play for
preview.
clicks. They play for.
Yeah.
Oh no, we play for wins. They play for
I
because.
didn't like that.
The Cinderella story is over, man. Right? They're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins.
Because
there's a
to keep it
difference.
real, like, and I'll just say it, like, it's just, I know it fed his guys or whatnot. It really did. But like, Colorado had the most or had the highest GPA of their college football team history as Deion Sanders has been there. Right, Colorado has academic All-Americans that weren't always happening that are getting like the honors, the 4.0 honors every week, and Travis Hunter and things like that. So it rubbed me the wrong way. So I do hope.
So we do root against Oregon.
Yes. Ohio State beat the brakes off the Ducks.
LG, who do you like? Washington, Iowa. Iowa's a 3-point favorite.
Washington has been disappointing me.
They have
Rutgers beat the brakes off of them. It was a close game, I know.
It's in Iowa.
And I don't know enough about college sports, so I don't take my advice. But I certainly would. I'm going with Iowa in that game.
I think Iowa is a little too big for them still.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the line of scrimmage is going to be won by Iowa, and that wins a lot of games.
Well,
That's
look.
something USC is learning.
Yeah,
That line of scrimmage matters.
Oh yes.
They were saying on the radio the other day, they said, USC, they have no 300-pounders on their line.
Nope.
Wow.
And in and whoever they were playing against had like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, you're not gonna win in the trenches, man.
Well, look, if Washington's getting moved by Rutgers, it's hard for me to see them winning against Iowa.
That's why I'm gonna pick the Big Ten teams this year.
Yeah, because the Pac-10 just isn't ready yet. They're not ready to compete.
The
quite
older
yet.
Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like Penn State, USC. I mean, Penn State's favored by 5.
Is it 5? Yeah.
On the road.
Think of the eyes on that game.
In the Coliseum.
Penn State, USC. Wow.
That would only happen in a bowl game back in the day, right? And now they're playing
Rose
each other
Bowl,
in a conference.
right? Rose Bowl.
No, it'll be at the Coliseum.
No,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
but then
but it
played the
would've.
Rose Bowl in the old days.
Right,
Back
yes.
in the day,
Oh,
with
right. The
Pac-10,
Big Ten
Big Ten.
winner against
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Definitely. Oh man. So we like the old Big Ten right now. We say that Penn State's gonna go in there and roll USC.
I give them 10.
So
Penn State by 10.
Ooh. They cover the spread with that, y'all.
Academy's got a UAB Army.
Oh, I still love Army. Is it 13?
It's 26 and a half.
26 and a half. Here's why I love Army. Again, you got to remember, and we told y'all to put them in your parlay last week. I hope you did.
Army and Navy.
Because it would have paid off if you did. Army and Navy both covered. But here's why I love Army again, because, again, we know this. Any novice knows this. You're not preparing for triple option. You get 1 week to prepare for it. Every other body is playing some other style of football. Army controls the line again. They win by 30 or so, 38.
Well, and I love the academies because you're going to play there for 4 years and then you're going on. I mean,
Right. They're trained to be military soldiers. They're running plays at a whole different level.
It's life or death.
Execution.
Their execution is their thing.
Bang, bang.
Well, we are running this exactly as strategized.
So we like the academy there.
Yeah.
We likes to party.
I think Army and Navy, this could be the first time in history that they play twice.
Yeah, that's right. They play for their conference championship.
They could play
they play for their thing,
and
then the Army Navy game.
Army Navy game. Which I went to the Army Navy game one time. It's probably been 5 or 6 years ago. The pageantry there was phenomenal.
Was that New York you saw the game?
Philly.
In Philly.
A good friend, and this friend of mine, it's a super neat guy. He had
I would imagine that game.
he had 5 pizzas come every 30 minutes to hand out the window to the cadets. And then we all had to peel off our passes so they come up into the box.
Cool.
So we had like a couple of it was the Army tuba players and stuff. It was just the pageantry there was phenomenal.
Based on what I've seen, I would have to imagine being there is an experience.
So really quick, I want to shout out the Academy's bands, because if you're not watching the HBCU band, then the best bands you're going to see in college sports is going to be coming from the academies, from the Navy Academy, Army Academies. They got some bands. Air Force, they got some bands. They really got some bands, y'all. It's not on the HBCU level, but it's better than the other bands you're going to hear.
Here you go. This is kind of closer to home for you. K-State at Colorado.
Oh, thank you. K-State at Colorado. Oh, I don't want to jinx my guys.
What's K-State's record?
They're rated 18.
They're 4-1. They're rated number 18. They only lost to BYU, and BYU was tough, man. The Mormons are tough this year. They really are. And so here's the thing. Coach Prime feels good. His team's playing good. They got the best player in the country. They got the best quarterback in the country. It's all going to matter if Colorado can just run the ball for 100 yards again. If they run the ball for 100 yards, they win. They win the game. So, yeah, I'm taking Colorado money line again. They did me really good 2 weeks ago.
The money line.
What's the number on it?
5, right?
4.
For Colorado?
No.
Oh, for K-State. Oh,
K-State.
wow.
But coming into Boulder, again, Boulder's going to be an electric atmosphere. The last time, I'm just keeping it real, the last time K-State was in that electric atmosphere at BYU just, I like Robinson, their quarterback, K-State's quarterback. He's freaking dynamic. He's tall. He's big. He's fast. He can do all the things. But K-State just got filtered, it felt like, when they were around that big atmosphere. K-State had to go up in elevation again too, right, to go play the Mormons at BYU. The same thing's going to happen. They go, and the Mormons playing Colorado State, Colorado Springs, right, if I'm not mistaken. Aren't the Mormons no, they're in Utah. They're in Utah. I'm tripping.
BYU.
Salt Lake City. Sorry. That's up there still, right?
Yeah, there's some elevation.
Who else plays? Air Force plays in Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs.
That's Air Force. Air Force plays in Colorado Springs. Okay. But so they're going up in elevation too. They're going to go play in Boulder. It's just an electric atmosphere there too, man. So anyways, I like Colorado money line to make it happen again. What is it, 170 plus 170?
Yeah, I think that's
something like that. Yeah, I like Colorado money line. What's the biggest game this week? Do you see, is there a big ranked game this week?
Is it LSU somebody?
LSU Ole Miss. Thank you. LSU Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Yep.
I like Ole Miss because I don't like the composure out of Brian Kelly for LSU. Right? Am I right? LSU Ole Miss?
Yeah. And Texas, Oklahoma.
Oh, the Red River shootout rivalry now. Yeah. They can't call it a shootout. You can't call it the Red River shootout anymore. They changed the name.
Licensure.
Yeah, they changed the name because of the gun violence stuff. Yeah, it's the Red River shootout, right? Anyways, so I like Texas by a long shot there, personally.
I do too.
I think Texas goes. Who's going to start quarterback? Is it Arch or is it Ewing?
Ewing.
I like Texas even by more than. What was the spread there? 10 or so?
I think it's 10.
Yeah. I like Texas to cover. I like them to go big.
14.
14 even. Yikes. I'll still take him to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, Texas got some athletes.
Oh, man.
Well, as we're kind of closing up here, I really want to thank you, Lawrence. It's great to get to meet you more. I mean, I know we've met before and said hello, but to actually sit and visit for a couple hours about some stuff that, quite frankly, you know a hell of a lot more about than I do. It's always educational for me. And I just want to thank you for coming on.
It was a joy being here, absolutely. And I know, like I said,
Sure, yeah.
since Ishma and I met, I don't know how many years we've been talking about, we need to put one of these conversations in recording.
You got to get it in.
And now here we are finally, and I think over time we can definitely enhance it to something that, I really do think these conversations need to be had. But yes, there is some fear that goes along with it.
Well, there is. We could be branded as, real bad people, but I'm willing to take that risk because these are hard topics that need to be talked about, and I hope we get some good comments because they're topics that need to be discussed. And some people say, you got to be really brave to bring that stuff up. Oh, you just got to read about stuff and kind of figure it out and broad brush some great questions out there for folks, and hopefully we'll get some back, and hopefully we're going to learn something by some comments.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, right, that's what middle of the street is about. It's about just having a conversation, not be afraid to have a conversation. Let's go out there and have these conversations and keep growing from them, right?
Yep.
One of the things that they say you need is healing. To heal is attachment. And if you don't go out and attach to people, you can't connect. And if you're not connected, then you're disconnected. And if you're disconnected, we have those numbers.
Yeah.
What a way to bring us back.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you bringing us back.
Really, really, really appreciate it.
Peace, y'all. Till next time.
Take care.
Bang, bang.
No agenda, no bull crap, just real conversations. Thank you for joining us for the Middle of the Street podcast.